In what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? Conventions I use on the front cover of my magazine, The Beats, can be found on most popular music magazines of a similar genre, for example, The Source and Vibe. I learnt these conventions through my general knowledge and understanding of existing music magazines and also from my textual analysis and my secondary research I did. The layout of my front cover fits the general structural conventions of many other hip-hop music magazines, as I use headings, images, a cell line, logos and a barcode. However, with many I develop them to fit my taste of what I see fit to relate to the generation I am aiming for. I recognised from the source they used a strong masthead, which followed through the magazine. I used this feature because it would be piercing to the eyes of the audience on a shelf among other magazines. Also, the masthead is one of the first things a consumer looks at, as it's what they will look for when identifying my magazine. In most hip-hop music magazines, they followed the convention of having the masthead to the right of the page. I challenged this by positioning my masthead in the centre of the page but still at the top. This makes the masthead stand out even further as it has more focus on it. When creating my cover lines, I wanted to keep them simple to make them easily readable, so I decided to use the cover lines of a sans serif font in magazines such as XXL and Vibe. However, I also challenged this by using a script-style serif font. I did this to show the audience my magazine is modern and keep up with the younger feel of my target audience. Even though I wanted my masthead to be strong and stand out on the page, the majority of my target audience identified that the main image was the thing that determined whether they would buy the magazine or not. Therefore, I had to make the image just as strong, if not stronger. I decided to use a medium shot image, which is a convention often used for the front cover. I also tried to keep my main image simple with not too much scenery, as I feel with this it can distract the reader and make the front cover look too busy and messy. Another convention I used in my magazine, which is popular in other music magazines, is a banner. I use this as it is a good way to advertise my magazine by using a short, snappy sentence that gives the reader an extra reason to buy it. Most magazines have male hip-hop artists on their cover of their magazine because of the males being the dominant ones in that genre. However, I challenged this and used a female hip-hop artist on my cover because I feel that we live in a modern society and gender isn't as much of an issue. When taking my pictures, I tried to use mise-en-scène that would be associated with my magazine genre of music, hip-hop. To do this, I incorporated a gold chain on my model, which represents wealth, and a beanie hat that connotes her masculine side, as the hip-hop industry, as I said, is very male-dominated. However, I still wanted my model to look feminine, so I dressed her in a small belly top, which shows part of her belly. I hope this would make her look slightly sexualised, as most of the readers for my hip-hop magazine will be males, as shown by my questionnaire result. I also wanted to use direct address, which is a common convention used on many magazines because it helps to give an immediate connection between the reader and the magazine, resulting in automatically improving the chances of them buying it. In addition to this, when editing my magazine, I moved the picture of my model slightly up to overlap the masthead, causing it to make the magazine look successful, as people don't need to see all the masthead to establish which magazine it is, which is also a convention feature many magazines use. Another convention I incorporated in my magazine was the use of anchoring a headline to the main image on the front cover. I followed the house style and used a red font, which was Passion Sans, to write Lady Monroe across the page in big writing. This helps indicate to the reader if they didn't already know the name of the model on the front cover. I followed this convention because it makes it easier for the reader to link the picture and the storyline. When creating my contents page, I wanted to keep it simple so the audience can immediately recognise it's the contents page and easily navigate through the magazine. This convention was used by the Source magazine. However, I challenged this convention by making the subheadings clear and easy to read, as I felt their subheadings were slightly confusing. I use columns to put the page information in, as it's a clear conventional way of setting the contents page out. However, I also challenged this by using just one, unlike the Hip Hop Weekly magazine, which used several, which I found to look very messy. I also added another convention to improve navigation, which was the use of subheadings. I made these bold so they stood out and were easier to read. In front of the subheadings are page numbers, and underneath this is additional information, which I added a small snappy sentence to sum the story up to make it more interesting to the reader. My house style is red and black, which I use because I feel that these colours would suitably relate to the genre and gender of my target group. When analysing other hip-hop magazines, I also found that these colours were conventional to the genre. I incorporated the house style through the pages of my magazine to tie the magazine together. Also, to maintain the house style, I used the same fonts which were on the front cover. The images I use have a strong representation of the genre of music they are in. The pictures have a red boson which consists of a page number, and underneath this I put a small caption on each image to give the reader additional information on the article which the pictures belong to. This is useful in navigating the reader to the right page and is a typical convention used by Hip Hop Weekly magazine. The red subscription box I use is also a convention from the contents page of Hip Hop Weekly magazine, and many other music magazines use this too. I use this as it enhances and promotes sales for my magazine and also places my magazine on a viral platform, because people have to go on my magazine's website to subscribe. Therefore, it also appeals to my younger fan base. When creating my double page spread, I tried to stick to conventions of many other music magazines so the layout was clear and structured. One convention I chose to use was to have the main image dominating the left side of the double page spread. I chose this because it's a popular convention used in most music magazines such as Hip Hop Weekly. I use the same model on my double page spread as I use for my front cover and contents page. This ties the magazine together and links in the genre. I also use the same mise-en-scène of the image as I believe it's conventional and gives a strong representation of hip-hop culture. Many hip-hop magazines use a professional drop back. However, I challenged this convention by using a brick wall as my background, as I believe it gives my image a raw look and relates to my target audience, because although it might make it look unprofessional, it's modern. For my body text, I use 3 columns. I feel this is an appropriate convention which many magazines also follow. To add detail to my body text, I also use conventions from the double page spread of Hip Hop Weekly magazine. These conventions consist of a drop cap and a pull quote. A convention I developed was the masthead on the right hand side of the page. I tried to do something different and unusual so my double page spread looked inventive as well as conventional, which makes the page interesting. By doing this, I feel it makes my magazine's double page spread slightly unconventional and makes it exciting for the audience.